Hi everybody, this is Joshua Kirk back with you once again on YouTube. And now it's time for episode 17 of Album of the Day. Before I get into the review, I just want to show you the shirt that I'm wearing in this video here. I'm wearing this shirt from a guitar shop in New York City called 30th Street Guitars. It's a great guitar shop. There's definitely a lot of cool guitars to choose from. In fact, I even played one of the electric guitars, which had a more bassy sound to it when I played it through the amp. If there's any, singer-songwriters who play the guitar, or certainly guitar players out there who are looking for a great guitar shop in New York City, if you're there, this is definitely the guitar shop to go check out. So, highly recommend it for any guitar player out there who goes to New York City and is looking for a great guitar shop in there. But anyway, beside from that, let's get on to this review. So today's artist is a band that I have technically talked about here on this channel, because I reviewed their most recent album released on February 7th, 2012. But I just wanted to talk about them again, because this is a band that I'm quite getting obsessed with. There's still plenty of other bands out there that I've been listening to for a while that I'm still a fan of. But I will admit that this is sort of a band that I'm getting kind of partial to after the past few months or so. So the band that I'm talking about is, once again, Dr. Dog, a band from Philadelphia. They're actually from West Grove, but their roots definitely are extremely deep in Philadelphia, so definitely Philadelphia is definitely where they're from. I'm here to review their 6th album, released on April 6th, 2010 on Anti Records. The album is called Shame, Shame. And this CD, actually, Anti Records had sent me this, the label. Same people that sent me Jason Lytle's Department of Disappearance, along with a few other albums, which were Life Fantastic by Man Man, Rhythm and Repose by Glenn Hansard, and The Salesman and the Shark by Sean Rao. Accidentally, this CD, Calexico's new album, Algiers, even though I already had a copy of it. So I definitely like to thank me for sending all those albums along with this one, because I literally can't stop listening to Shame Shame, because this is a really good album. I have heard all other Dr. Dog albums, I have heard some tracks from Easy Beat, which of course were great. In particularly the first few tracks, The World May Never Know, The Pretender, and Oh No, along with Fool's Life, which is a great little gem by them, and Say Something, Fin 2. Even though I really haven't heard the other stuff from the album all the way through, those were the majority of the tracks that I checked out. I've also checked out several tracks from We All Belong To, and that's a great album too, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you Dr. Dog fans out there are obsessed with. And I also checked out Fate, which is probably the best out of those three, believe it or not. Some people may say Easy Beat or We All Belong is the best one out of all those three, but I'm kind of partial to Fate, so I'm gonna go with that. And that has probably the biggest production on a Dr. Dog album, with some string arrangements and some horn arrangements, some woodwinds, some weird, strange sound effects in the background, and layers and layers. I mean, a layered cake of harmonies. Shame Shame sort of subtracts the production excess of Fate, but it isn't boring or anything like that. It definitely does sound upbeat and sounds like Dr. Dog, which is a good thing. because I'm looking for bands that may change their style a bit, but still maintain the style that they're known for. So anyway, here's the cover, the spine, and the back of the album. The songs on here are Stranger, Shadow People, Station, Unbearable Why, Where'd All the Time Go, Later, I Only Wear Blue, Someday, Mirror Mirror, Jackie Wants a Black Eye, and the title track, Shame Shame. And, also forgot to mention, not too familiar with the stuff off of Toothbrush, except How Dare. I've only heard, little snippets from the album, but I will probably listen to the full album sometime soon, because Dr. Dog is a really cool website where you can listen to all their albums. You can listen to the whole thing, or just listen to little tracks from there. So that's definitely one of the reasons that I come to their website back to back again. This is actually their 6th album, not really their 5th, because their first was called Psychedelic Swamp, but was never really released and very rare to find, so very little known about it. And plus, it isn't really an album, it's more of a collection of songs, so Toothbrush is probably the first actual album that they've ever released. But anyway, here's the inside of here. It has credits in there, basically the mixing, where it was recorded, songwriting, and the production credits on here. And it was produced by a producer named Rob. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he was the producer of this album. There's the CD itself. It's a clear disc. It actually has a handwritten Anti Records logo on it. Pretty cool, in my opinion. And here's an insert in here. On here, there's some really cool artwork here. With the skeleton here, and he's probably saying "No problem, Dr. Dog." The artwork on here is really nice. And then on the back, there's lyrics for the songs, because you gotta have the lyrics in there. Because not a lot of Dr. Dog's CDs have the lyrics in there, but oh well. What's most important is that the music is good. So that's basically the packaging of the album. So now let's get right to the album analysis here. So I like how, even though this album is the first album that Dr. Dog has ever worked with an outside producer, I like how just because they worked with a different producer on here doesn't mean it sounded overproduced or anything like that. Some modern music can get a little overly produced and can get a little too sugary at times. But luckily the producer on here, Rob, definitely helped keep Dr. Dog's sound intact on this album. So definitely congratulations on that. And then aside from that, let's talk about the tracks on here. So the first track on here is a song called Stranger, and what definitely is going to make people happy is that right away it sounds like Dr. Dog, because it's got a catchy guitar riff, and a catchy piano in there too. And the lyrics that Toby Lehman has on this song, Toby Lehman, of course, is the lead singer of this song, are also known as Tables, since the members have T nicknames, which are Tables, that's Toby, Taxi, that's Scott, Tex, that's Zach, Teach, that's Eric Slick, and Thanks, which is Frank. The older members had nicknames too. Like they had nicknames Truck, Trials, Today, and Triumph. Like the lyrics on here are like really interesting. Like, you know, it's sort of a song about like, like sometimes, life can sometimes life can make you a stranger, and it can sort of subtract the tricks up your sleeve. Leave like an interesting message that's going on with the lyrics on this song. And it definitely has some great harmonies going over Toby's vocals, like with all the other members harmonizing. I think that's just really nice and definitely keeps the album from being labeled as filler. In fact, I don't think Dr. Dog has ever put out an album that has any filler on it at all. Track number 2 on here is a song called Shadow People, which is the first single to be released off of the album. It was released in February of 2010. That's pretty much the first song all of you have heard from the album. You know, if you've been following Dr. Dog for a while, since Toothbrush came out. The lyrics on here definitely make it to be like probably one of the most interesting songs that I think Scott McMicken has ever written. Like, he describes it as sort of like a diary of like West Philadelphia, and like and he's sort of telling us how, we're all going to be wondering like, where'd all the shadow people go? And it makes sense that it's the first single because it's really upbeat, and the harmonies on it definitely are great. And I like how it slowly just sort of builds up and then gets really epic by the end. Like, it starts out with just Scott McMicken with an acoustic guitar, and then eventually it starts to build up, and then there's the full chorus with big drums and guitars and keyboards and background vocals, so it definitely is probably the highlight from the album, in my opinion. The next song on here, Station, has a bit more of a softer, more folky, alt-country sort of feel to it. Like, the song would definitely most likely be compared to like Bob Dylan or something like that. Just definitely just sound like a song maybe Bob Dylan would have written. And it's definitely one of the highlights on the album. Like, I don't know why, but this song just makes me feel good when I hear it. Like, it's nice to have a mellow breather on here, since a lot of the songs are pretty energetic and have lots of loud guitars in them. So you kind of need a little air breather here, like, sort of like taking a breather while you're at work. And the lyrics on here are really interesting. Like, as Toby said in a Last FM interview, since the band did one acoustic gig when they were there, he sort of says it's about him moving to Wilmington from Philadelphia, and that's where a lot of the lyrics came from. Like, I was in the lowlands where the old folks go. That's pretty much how he felt. So, it's a sad song lyrically, yet it just sort of makes it feel good when you hear it. So, it sort of makes you realize that, the song is pretty hopeful too on the chorus, too. Oh, I also forgot to mention that the song Shadow People lyrically really does hit right at home, since I'm from Maryland, since Dr. Dog sneaks in a little lyric about the neon lights on Baltimore. And then there's another line on Station that's sort of similar to that, called, here's a stack of tokens from my friends on Baltimore. The song Unbearable Wise, great, like, probably the most energetic song on the album. Like, just the harmonies have so much power to them. Like, power them. Like, it's definitely fun to sing along with the harmonies. In fact, anytime I listen to a Dr. Dog song, when I'm feeling good and having fun with it, I like to just sing along with it. Because I think my voice sort of fits in with the music, fits in with Dr. Dog's voices very well. Well, it has like this weird sort of atmospheric guitar pedal thing going on in the background while the piano, the harmonies and the drums make that song shine. The song Where'd All the Time Go has a weird intro at the beginning of it. Like, it starts out with basically drums, these keyboards in the background, a banjo in there, and then there's like this radio shortwave man like saying something here, which sort of makes for the fact that, you know, Dr. Dog likes to use wacky instrumentation in their music to make it a unique sound that's not like everybody else. Like, you know, and it's a song about, like, you know, having a problem in your life, about like when your life sort of goes a little too fast and something like that. Like, the lyrics on there are definitely very cleverly written on here. Like, a lot of Dr. Dog's songs have a lot of interesting lyrics in them. In fact, there are definitely some members of my family that definitely agree with that. It has an awesome, unexpected guitar solo at the end. I think it's from Scott or something like that. The song later has, like, the instrumentation on here sounds a lot harder, and definitely, like, there's definitely the snarling, yet very sunny guitar riff, which may remind one of, like, Beach Boys or something like that. And it's sort of a song about, like, you know, desperately waiting for, like, someone you love to just come up and see you after, like, a bunch of hours at just sitting around and waiting with nothing at all. So, you know, but trust me, I will definitely always be here for this song because it's just amazing and catchy, and, like, it's definitely not my favorite on the album, but I just find myself just playing it non-stop. I Only Wear Blue starts out with basically just an organ, a little guitar riff, and Scott McMicken's voice, and the lyrics on here definitely are very interesting. Like, it's sort of about, like, you know, going on with things, like, just going on with your own things. Like, it's sort of like, just, it was mainly because Scott sort of liked the way the phrase, I only wear blues, sounded, like, and I agree with that. Like, I only wear blue, that definitely is not a surprising phrase to put in a song like this. It's like this, and it's true, because Scott definitely does end up wearing blue very often, even though that may not always happen. He just sort of likes it more of like a phrase, and I can see that in the song pretty much. And the end of the song has like a sort of this weird psychedelic thing going on. Sounds like Scott is trying to experiment with, like, opera singing or something like that at the end. Like, I think I can hear that in the background or something like that. The song Someday is probably the most psychedelic song on the album. Like, has some really psychedelic harmonies. Like, it sounds like there's some sort of Leslie speaker reverb on the harmonies on here, so their vocals sort of sound more like an organ on here. While Toby sort of course, sings with no reverb on it. on it, since that's definitely the way it's got to be. But it's got like a cool electric piano riff on here too, like at the beginning thing here. So I like how Dr. Dog's not afraid to experiment with this much sounds. Like, I mean, here you got, they're pretty much like an indie band, I guess, like an indie rock band. Yet they still sort of blend in a bunch of new things on this album, like psychedelia and punk rock and some folk and alt country. Like, I mean, the styles are just everywhere. The song Mirror, Mirror definitely may remind one of, like, songs from the 60s. Like, it sort of sounds like maybe something the Beatles maybe could have done in the mid-60s or something like that. That just by, like, the tone of the guitar. And I could totally imagine then, like, John, Paul, and George sort of harmonizing on the chorus, too. Verse 2, when it's, like, just, it's definitely a fun song to hum, or sing, I guess, like, like, it's just a really cool song, so it's definitely a highlight on the album. The song Jackie Wants a Black Guy definitely is very accurately written, because you're written. And it's like, definitely does sound like a fun song to sing along to, especially on the chorus. Chorus that goes, "We're all in it together now, as we all fall apart. We're swapping little pieces of our broken little hearts." Like, the chorus is very catchy, and just, I find myself, like, just hearing that song and just singing along with that chorus. And, like, the version on this album is great, but if you really want to hear if you want to hear an awesome version of this song, go check out the version that Dr. Dog did for the Box of Wonder and Amazement, where it had Scott on ukulele, Frank on melodica, Toby on harmonica, Zach on mini keyboard, and Eric playing an electronic drum machine. Like, you know, this song is definitely great on the album, but when you hear that other version that I just mentioned, you're definitely going to find yourself listening to that version more than the version on this album. But man, it definitely has the same harmonies that they're known for, so it's sort of like a cool little stripped down yet wacky version of the song. And then the closing track on here is the title track, Shame, Shame, and has this really cool sort of slow, sort of almost 70s jazz sort of vibe to it. Like, definitely sounds like a bunch of definitely just sound like a bunch of singers from, like, around that time. Like, I think in particular David Bowie, in my opinion. Yeah, and like the bridge, even though it does get a little louder and a little more, turns up the volume a little bit on the bridge. Like, I think the bridge, is my favorite moment in the song. Like, you know, where guitars are going crazy, and Toby's got, like, sort of a dramatic vocal performance going on with sort of the theme of the lyrics. One thing, however, that I think really caught my attention on this song is that as a guest vocalist, it has Jim James, the lead singer of My Morning Jacket, singing on it, like, singing Shame, Shame on here. Like, I can easily tell just by I can easily hear, like, the reverb on his voice. It sounds sort of like it's going through an underground cave or something like that. Because, you know, the song would be missing without someone hitting a high note on here. So that's definitely the one thing that really stuck out to me, in my opinion. So the production on here is definitely very well done. Like, this definitely has a bunch of true influences. Pretty much has all the influences that Dr. Dog can really do, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, I'm going to give, just like Be the Void, I'm going to give this album a 9 out of 10. 10. Dr. Dog is a band that I've been listening to, like, every day on a daily basis, along with the Avett Brothers too, like, but so far the only thing I haven't done yet is seen them in concert, so, you know, hopefully Dr. Dog will come to my area, and so will the Avett Brothers will come to the Baltimore area, because I definitely like to go see them live, because, you know, if they have a tour date in my area, I'm gonna be there, like, literally, just, definitely I'm gonna get the tickets, and go into the show if they go to my area. So that's what I thought of Shame Shame. Tell me what you guys thought of it. That's going to wrap it up for my review on Dr. Dog's album, Shame Shame. Stay tuned for episode 18 of Album of the Day.